Hello, folks. We're back. Another week. Hold on, let me fix my shirt. Another episode.
I wear the wrong shirt underneath this.
Yeah, because it's black.
I have a white one, but I forgot to wear the white top underneath it. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's cute, though.
Thanks. I was told I look like a mantel.
I mean, it's very fitting to what the theme of today is about, right?
Like the cortinas. I think of grandma's old
Yes, her
cortinas.
little, yeah, with lace. Okay, this is it. Today's episode is about the golden age of Mexican cinema.
Peak.
El cine de oro mexicano.
I don't know. She's trying. Basically, the iconic period of that time.
I don't want to.
And basically, what our moms watched, what we got influenced, I don't know. There's just I think like the fashion during that time was beautiful. You know, hence the little sleeves, the little flowers that I'm going on for, the little lace.
Época de oro del cine mexicano. Ese es el tema de hoy.
Wow, pat yourself on the
In case you guys
back.
didn't know, we come from Latin descent.
Family.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
You.
Sí, claro. Just kidding.
This is going to be a Spanglish episode.
Spanglish, yeah.
Because, we're bilingual.
We're bilingual.
Why not?
Whatever. O como sea. Super
Are
white.
you going to go super, fresa?
No.
Anyway.
Anyway.
O sea, porque yo sí puedo ser fresa.
Una cachetada. No, so our parents, if you didn't know also, we're sisters. But our parents, you couldn't tell. Our parents were born and raised in Mexico. My father was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Yep.
And my mom was in Durango, Otinapa.
Otinapa.
We have yet to visit where she was born, but we want to go visit soon.
Yeah.
But we are in our 4th year of going to Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Every year.
We've gone to Guadalajara, Jalisco, did the little touristy things, but we've also done other pueblos in Jalisco. So we've done like Tala, Mazamitla, Tapalpa, Puerto Vallarta, Tequila. So, and every year we technically go to these same locations.
Or explore different ones.
And we go like a little bit further out.
Yes.
Like it's like, if it's like Tala's here, but then there's like different other like pueblos near, and we go and visit. We went to this bosque de primavera.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
So beautiful. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's this rock, I remember, that looks like if it's like a dragon. And it's huge.
I was literally so afraid because I started climbing it, and then I realized how big it was, and then I was like, I'm just going to lay here for the picture.
Yeah.
So
Because
post the picture.
from you walking up towards it, it's like a normal rock. But on the side view where my mom was at, it's literally it's a cliff. So there's nothing holding you underneath it, and you're walking on that rock.
Yeah.
And it is so beautiful.
Yes.
I loved it because when we went, it was like a couple days after it had rained. So the grass was green and everything like that.
So beautiful.
But, my allergies did not love me after that.
And probably at the point that you guys are listening to this, we will be there for the Dia de la Dependencia, right?
Yeah. I love how you look at me. And I'm like, yeah.
El grito.
El grito.
So that is what we're going to be
going out there for, doing it. And we're excited. Every year we go, we try to do something different, and we try to kind of take a lot in
the zoo too is great.
The zoo. I love the zoo. I know it's a lot that you have to walk, but I love the zoo. And it's funny because I've gone to every little station or whatever the things, but I love them. They're always my favorite.
The only one I have not is the snakes. I will not go into that one. I'm sorry.
The reptiles, I went to the one, but they're in the glass. Yeah. But I did not go to the one where it's the snakes. That's absolutely terrifying. I was gonna
you were also afraid of the monkeys.
I was sort of. I was gonna say that I'm afraid of the safari because of the giraffes, because they come into your thing.
They do. They're so cute. They're really nice though.
Last time we went, they wanted to push me to the edge where like they come in and and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm in the middle.
They're so cute though.
They're
you
cute, but
them.
I'm terrified of
You
it.
could feed them. They're really cute.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the longest intro of our life.
So sorry. Yeah.
But yes. Today's episode is about that. And do you want to... Wait, I have to start the intro, huh?
Yes. Let's try to see if we can say it in Spanish.
In Spanish? Okay. Hola, yo soy Leslie Marie.
Y soy Natalia. No, do it again. Sorry. Okay. Go.
Hola, yo me llamo Leslie Marie.
Y yo soy Natalia.
Y este es el While You're Early, We're Fashionably Late podcast.
En donde platicamos de la ropa que nos ponemos y todas las historias que aún no sabemos.
Ajá. ¿Y por qué nos ponemos lo que nos ponemos? That's what our podcast is about.
In Spanish!
Yay! That was so cute.
Let's say it in English. I'm just kidding.
Do you want to say it in English?
No. But I hope I got it. I mean, that's as much as I could think of translating. You know, my Spanglish brain was buffering at that point. And I was like, Anyways,
yeah.
But yeah, that is our episode today, and we're very, very much excited.
So excited to bring you this.
Yeah.
Also, this month, September, is actually the Latin Heritage Month. So it also has to do with that. We wanted to tie that all in.
Yes.
What are you wearing, Natalie, to represent your Latin heritage?
As I referred to in the beginning, I got so close to the mic. I look like I am wearing your grandma's tablecloth.
Yep.
Or your curtains. I think that a lot of it... El mantel. Yeah. I think that because of... When you go to, like, Mexico or, like, Guadalajara and, like, to, like, the little, like, mercados, you will see a lot of, like, things like cloths and stuff that you can put for your house that are tejidas. And they're hecha de mano.
Yeah, so they're, like, hand crocheted.
So everything is, like... From the colors to the design, like everything is on. Especially the dresses, the iconic dresses of like the off the shouldered everything that is handmade. And I think the dedication that a lot of people put to do those, it's just so beautiful. And in a way, I'm kind of wearing that right now. I have a dress, I couldn't find it, but I was like, I have this top that I absolutely really love, and it's very fresh.
And you actually bought that in Mexico.
Yes, I did.
Really cute. Yeah. Mine, on the other hand, it's from H&M. But I like the watercolor effect of it, and the purple color, and the sleeves are very, like, you know. I think I'm going more of the vibe of a tourist in Mexico.
Yes.
What
I think, like, very much Mexico City, because it's that Mexico City, El DF, has gone very modernized in the style. So I think you're highlighting that, or I'm highlighting your typical.
And my typical red lipstick, because I feel like
red lipstick,
you didn't do
eyeliner,
your trenzas, because I feel like you always do your trenzas when you go to Mexico.
I did not, but
yeah. But if you
I'm
guys
showcasing
follow us,
my hairy arms.
if you guys follow us on our social media, you guys will probably see pictures of our trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another thing I just saw that you're wearing is cadenas. A lot of us, especially like with like men, I feel like they wear a lot of cadenas. Like it's like the gold ones and all that stuff, or las pulseras.
These, I feel like ever since you're a child, you get one of these bracelets.
And it has your names.
It has your name. This one actually, I have one with my name, but this one was actually my dad's, and so I wear it every single day. Yeah. It's a piece of my everyday jewelry, just to remember him. But yeah.
I have his cadena, but it's like, this man was tall, so for me,
mine's like
this. And I'm like, I try to twist it where you do it too, but then I'm like, so, you know, it's just safe. In my jewelry
And he
box.
actually got it in Guadalajara, in El Centro Joyero. Yes. When we went, he got the set, so he got the necklace and that. And
all of my earrings except my star ones are from El Centro Joyero.
Yeah, same.
I think for me, every time we go to Guadalajara, I get a new ear piercing.
Yeah.
No, I get a new ear piercing, so I'm like, what new earrings am I going to get?
No, and that the Centro Joyero is a must. Like,
yes, you have to.
It's like 3 stories. For those of you who don't know, it's like 3 stories. It's like a building. And they're huge. And you have all of the best jewelry. You know, there's gold, there's sterling silver, there's imitation stuff. Like, you go there and you will find something for jewelry.
And then because it's right next to El San Juan de Dios,
Yes.
that not recently now, it did, I think last year, part of it burnt. I think it was like the kitchen area.
Yeah.
But that's another touristy area where you go for food, where you go for like your souvenirs or gifts that you give to people, and that's where you'll find a lot of.
Huge.
You know, it's bad to say it, but like knockoffs of stuff
Yeah.
that they sell
But
there.
also, I feel like there's a lot of original stuff.
yeah.
So if you go, like, they have a lot of leathered goods, which, like, the cowboy
it's
boots.
like in the upper part of it too.
The cowboy boots are my favorite, and the purses. I have 2 of the purses from there.
Oh my god!
And they have
if you
such
heard that in the mic, that was my stomach. I
I
growled.
did not hear anything.
I don't hope they didn't hear in the mic.
I
Because
literally
it was-
heard
I had it
nothing.
so
I have a cookie to a cookie.
It was so close, and it was like.
Natalie ate a really good breakfast too, so I don't know why you're growling. But yes, so yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I
you're
cut you
good.
off.
I don't even remember what I was talking
I also get
about. The bracelets,
the bracelets, the ones that are like tejidas. But I also get the sandals. What Leslie calls my Jesus sandals.
Yes, but they're really
cute.
good leather ones.
Every year I try to get something of it. Last year I did not, but
dresses too.
I get dresses and stuff like that. But it's like this thing that I had with my dad, where every year we would go, he would always be like, "Time for new shoes," and we would both go because he would get his belt, and because where he got his belt, el puesto like 2 doors
right across
down was for the shoes, so he'd be like, "What shoes are you gonna get?" So I have like a full collection of them. So I didn't get them last year. I think it looks a little bit depressed, whatever. But that's another story.
Because I didn't go with my daddy.
I didn't go with my daddy, but I'm hoping this year I could go and get myself a pair.
I think also leading up to the trip, I feel like this year I'm a bit more excited about it because I'm going in with a positive mindset.
Yeah, we're excited.
You know,
grateful that we get to go another year
and to just like honor my dad because that's where he grew up with, like there, and he went to school there.
The torta de chavo that he
the
tejuinos,
everything.
In Talpalpa, I think it is. It is a beautiful city. Little pueblito. They sell tamales, and then
so good.
they sell, is it atole? No, atole de cajeta.
It's so good.
Y de guayaba. De guayaba, it's a good, but de cajeta,
it's so good.
That is, I am waiting for that.
If you don't know what an atole is, it's basically almost kind of like a hot chocolate, but not really. It's just thicker, and but it's like a warm drink, so it's
known during the colder climates. You get that.
Also, the ice cream, because they have the ice cream de garrafa, I think that's what it's called. And there's so many different flavors.
Also honoring our grandpa, because our grandpa used to sell
nieves de garrafa. He would make them himself.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited because of the tamales. Yeah. And then the elote.
What is it? Also the thing where you go to get the it's like literally in the farm, and you go and you get the milk and the
oh my god.
Pajaretes?
Yes, pajaretes.
Those
are so good. Okay. Yes, I am lactose intolerant. I'm not supposed to have
with that
because it is an actual cow, you know, but I drink half of it with my mom, but it is delicious. It is basically milk
straight from the cow.
La vaca at that time, and it has coffee,
freshest you can
cinnamon, sugar. A lot of people actually do hot chocolate, chocolatito,
like the powder
instead of the coffee.
Yeah.
And then they put like some form of alcohol. I forget what it is, but it's like a tiny bit of it. And they mix it. It's so warm. Good. It has the bubbles because of the milk being so warm and stuff. And it's so good. So good. It's amazing. Delicious. It's like this thing for them. It's typical for them to do it in the mornings to drink that. Like that is like
their energy coffee.
That's their energy drink. Yeah.
So it's
that's
like their
morning espresso that they need to wake
up. Yeah, honestly. But it's just like it's so good. Also, like it's very like it's straight from the farm right there. So it's kind of nice. I feel like every time we go to, it almost like centers you because like obviously living in like a city, but like going there, like you're just like in the open field and everything's so calm,
and you remember
and
where
peaceful. It's beautiful.
You come from and where your family came from and stuff like that. And it's just, I think it's a good because it's like we go from going to a place like that that's more rural, where it's like
Yeah.
all the like farms, everything,
Yeah.
to then going to the city where it's touristy. It's like okay, like there's
You
two
have a
sides
combination
of
of
Mexico. You have the
both.
combination of both, and
Yeah.
you love both versions of
Both
it too.
versions. It's
Especially
beautiful.
Puerto Vallarta.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
Puerto Vallarta.
Also, the architecture of everything there is so beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I just think
Decorations.
the dot. There's a museum in
Tlaquepaque.
Talquepaque. I was like, what? I was like,
Tlaquepaque.
there's too many tea pueblos that we've gone, and I'm like, what is this? But there is this like store that you know
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about.
I want
It
to get
is
that
like
backpack.
chandeliers.
Beautiful.
It is like big wooden tables. Like this is all handcrafted by the people.
Yep.
It is beautiful. It is expensive, but it is literally
It's
their
so
work
worth
of art.
it.
It's so beautiful.
It's all handmade. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's intricate.
I
Like
always love
if
going in
you
there.
want one of a kind pieces, they will import it to
Yes.
wherever, and
Mhm.
it's just like it's so worth it. Like I
Yes.
feel like once I have my big girl house, like I
You're
will
gonna-
get
we're
stuff
gonna go
from
there.
there
Yeah.
because it's just like so beautiful.
Yes, and
I love it.
I'm like I'm excited because when we're recording this podcast, this episode, we are we're a week away from going. But when you guys are hearing it, we're probably coming back from it. So I'm like, right now we're taking everything out of like, oh my gosh,
I'm
I'm
so excited. But
yes,
you would have already seen
you
all the
would have seen
pictures
all
of
the
our trip.
pictures and stuff.
But yeah. So before there was telenovelas,
Mhm.
right? We had I want to say it in Spanish, Época de Oro del Cine Mexicano,
Mhm.
or if you want me to translate it, it's the
golden
golden
age
age of
of
Mexican
Mexican
cinema.
Mhm.
So that came about during about 1936. So
Mhm.
that whole thing spanned around 2 decades of those films, all the way to 1956.
Mhm.
And so that's I think like the tipping off point, or like the most memorable ones.
Yeah.
Obviously, they made films after that, and it went all the way into 70s, 80s, even until now, obviously.
You get a lot of and it's like some of them are more modernized to what it is now, but others, they continue to involve like the Mexican heritage and what it means to be Mexican and stuff, and they add a little bit of that,
And I think for that time period, for the Oro Mexico, I don't know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying, but I'm trying to say it in English and in Spanish.
Your Spanglish brain is buffering.
So what I'm trying to say is that in that time period, right, it was so iconic because I feel like you got a sense of what it was like to live in that time. Like, and it was done in the most beautiful way, because I feel like, especially when you see Mexican people through, say, a Western film, in American films, typically you only see them as the comedic relief. You only see them as the servants or the people working there.
Or also, I hate saying this, kind of like the prostitutes for the women and like all that stuff. Like they kind of portray women where it's like the curves.
Like they're just sexy.
Yeah, and it's not of like them being actual women, and I don't know.
And in that time period, it was very different because cinema was taken so seriously, and they were all lead actors, and the stories were so beautiful and written so beautiful, and they even transcend to now of like, you can, like, if you grew up with Mexican parents, you probably know who Cantinflas is, and you know a movie, and it's made you laugh, it's made you cry, it's giving you all the emotions, and like so many other films. But I feel like that, to me, I think it represents true Mexican cinema and the artistry of, if you let us actually do our thing, it will be a good thing, and it will flourish.
And I think most of the films during that época, they were like comedies, with Cantinflas. You had melodramas, you have like the black and white film, you had musicals, and you had like a couple of horror ones, And I think that during that época, it was like a lot of like that was true Mexican. That was true. Like you had, I love the way that mom phrases it. It's like como un verdadero hombre, like Mexicano hombre. Like you had him with his mustache, with his cowboy hat, like very much of like his personality was shown with how he was dressed. And I feel like after 1956, we lost a little bit of that. But now, because a lot of people, because of Latinx, it is a heritage, we are supporting it. And more people are aware of everything. Like now cinema now is a lot of them are coming back to those roots, and I really love that.
Excited.
Yeah,
also I feel like even for women, they had lead roles and they dressed so beautifully.
Yes,
and it's very much, I feel like sometimes Mexican tradition can get very much, you know, like you just think of like what is it, the Taco Tuesday, or you think of
Cinco de Mayo,
Cinco de
which
Mayo.
we don't celebrate
We
anything
don't
in Cinco de Mayo.
Literally nothing.
A lot. It was funny because when Cinco de Mayo happened, someone asked me if I was gonna celebrate, and then I was like,
our 4th of July.
Yeah,
it's technically in September.
They thought that it was Independence, and I was like, no, it's in September. I was like, I don't know what Cinco de, like I know it's something that there was a war that they won,
but it's not our
Independence Day. And I was like, no, I was like.
And so, but I think like if you go back and watch those films, a lot of them have been put now in color that were in black and white, but you see like the not only like the setting, right? Because like they'll be in a pueblito and everything, but you see like the architecture of it, like it really shines through. You see the garments, like it all shines through, and it's very like beautiful to me. I don't know how else to explain it if you haven't seen it, but you're just captivated by it. And so so why it came about, right? So I have my notes because this is pretty long, but why it came about that we were able to create so much film during that time. It had a lot to do with the combination of the Mexican Revolution. So you see that written into scripts a lot. Like that's also a basis for it, which I think Mexican modernism, you can see it all across traditional art. So you see it in architecture, you see it in paintings, you see it in film.
And in the clothing.
Which is very much a time period between 1910 all the way through 1950. Which again is right in the middle of Mexican cinema. And so it was just about the renewing of the Mexican culture. And so Alfredo Ramos Martinez was the one that really spearheaded that. Like he was the father of Mexican modernism. And also the other part of that too was that during that time, obviously we had the World War II. And so there was a decline in film production due to the war in the US and in Europe. So most of the people who wanted to make films, right, ended up going to Mexico. And even a lot of the actors, there's a lot of actors who were Mexican actors that went to the US to try to like make a name for themselves. And obviously they weren't given lead roles or anything like that. And so they knew each other kind of because of that. They knew directors. And so when they came back and they did it in like, you know, in Mexico, they really shined through there. And so due to all of that after the war, you know, there were just like, or not after the war, sorry, during the war, it was very innovative, and I feel like they put all of their creative juices into
and I think it was their moment to shine type of thing, because if everywhere else the film production wasn't working, they're like, okay, it's time to introduce our type of film, our stories, our heritage, who we are as people. And even if in the US, how you said, like they weren't accepted, like in Mexico, a lot of us, like because of that time, we know those films. We love those films. Those are like true classics in our house, where now the true classics are like Lethal Weapon or like all that stuff. But for us, it's like movies that you have with Cantinflas, or you have with all these like actors that are now slowly dying, the last ones, and singers and all that stuff. But it's like these are what shaped our parents, and in a way for us
and
now,
our grandparents too,
and in a way for us now are like, we're appreciative of that era, and for like in a way kind of get a glimpse of what our grandparents and our parents, you know, like they experienced
where
and
you
stuff,
come
where
from.
you come from and stuff. And I think like icons during that time that kept that alive.
Yeah.
Even after I feel like even after the 1956 that kept it alive.
70s,
they
80s.
you know, they continued making films or like somehow produced or were part of a like film or a series or whatever to keep that alive.
Yeah.
And like they were like true ones. Like you hear this name on the street and you're like, I know what they're talking about. I know what movie they came out. I know this, or you know.
Yeah.
And so we have like someone like Cantinflas.
Yeah.
Like my mom loves Cantinflas.
Love it.
There
I
is
feel like
this
it's
movie
during the holiday. That's the movies.
I
you would
remember in the summer they would do in I think it was like Azteca Medic or something like that.
Yeah.
One of the Mexican channels. But in the summer they had a summer like where Saturday
every
summer.
Saturday.
From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. they were showing
Just
all
Mexican movies.
no all
Cantinflas.
Cantinflas movies.
Yeah.
Tell me why this woman would literally in her breaks be like, I need to cook, I need to clean, all this stuff, and then she'd sit down and she'd be like,
have it
ha, ha, ha. Like she loved those movies.
I could quote those movies.
Yes,
word for
they're
word.
funny. They're hilarious.
So heartfelt.
Even if you're not Mexican, get subtitles and watch those movies.
They're
They
so
are
good.
so funny.
They're
if you
so
don't
good.
know, even if you are Mexican, don't know Spanish, get subtitles.
And I
listen to
think-
it. It's beautiful.
I think something that was also for me that sticks out in those movies, specifically Cantinflas movies, is very much you get the sense of humor, like our sense of humor, right? And it appealed to, because from some of the parts that he would do, obviously you had like the higher class people who were rich, and then the people who were lower class who were just your normal average people. And so for him, he made movies as characters that were that they were the lower, you know, but he would get himself into things where he was up with like all these like people who were like
power,
and somehow he was the voice of reason and all of these things. So I think really like it captivated the heart of Mexican people. And he had a wide variety of comedic what is it like
relief in that
era.
Yeah.
And like just like ideas for stories.
And I feel like in a way he was very much of a like jokester, you know, we're all jokesters and stuff, but it was like he would put a joke in a very serious time moment or whatever scene, and in that moment you couldn't be serious, you just like laugh or like the people there, like there's even times where he does jokes and the acters that are there, you just see them kind of like turn around because it's like it's hilarious.
It was in the moment.
It was in the moment that it was
script.
just but we get Cantinflas, we get those comedic relief, we get Tintan, which is, you know, Germán Valdez. We get Pedro Infante.
Also, I think that a lot with the musicals too.
Yes.
You get these like iconic Mexican singers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like you get all these people. You get, you know, one of the women is Silvia Pinal. She is one of them icons.
Yeah.
And I think like for, you know, we know what mariachi band and men and, you know, they dress.
Yeah.
But when women were dressed like that, it was iconic.
So beautiful.
Con su sombrero, con su, like, just beautiful.
And I think it even goes to that, like, especially being someone who's Mexican American, you see mariachis in American culture, and it's almost kind of like a joke, right? But then you see it in the Mexican light, and it's something very traditional and very beautiful. And so I think that's also another thing that, like, in that time period, they were able to be who they were and it not have been distorted.
Yes.
Right? And it's really the essence of what that music means and what that music is.
And it's funny because, like, during that time, like how you said, like the music and stuff, there was a lot of singers, like male singers, that would also be actors.
Yes.
So you would get them in like their acting phase, and then in the movie they'd start singing to their leading lady and all that stuff, and it'd be songs that they
wrote,
and it'd be like, like, you know,
it's
like
so cute.
it just, and I think like that point where it's like Mexican cinema was like, okay, we're incorporating that part, you know, because this is men and women that work in that area, in the industry of music, but it's like not even
highlighted them.
It's not even like I have a album record. I have this. Like, it was them with their bands, and they would go. You see them a lot in Mexican restaurants, and they come up to you and they're like, "Oh, do you want me to dedicate a song to someone?" And you give them $1 or whatever the price is, and they are there full blown singing to you. And I feel like in the Mexican cinema films, they appreciated that, and they would bring that as well when the main leading guy would have to go get the girl, and she'd come out with her little I'm blanking on the thing, but like her little night dress and all that stuff, nightgown, and she would come up in the patio, and like that was your romance that you would get in the film with the singers, you know, and it was beautiful.
So it's very much like two different ways of seeing it, right?
Yes.
Where it's like the way that it appeals to certain people, but versus the way that it is traditionally and what it's actually meant for.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Okay, so here are some of the most influential films. I mean, not all of them, right? But the one that's very iconic is Maria Candelaria. It came out in 1943, and a lot of people don't know this, but it actually won at the Cannes Film Festival in 1946. There were other films that also won during that time, like the same award, but it was one of the 10 films that won it. And so even in that time period, to have a Mexican film shown at Cannes Film Festival and have it win, like that was something that iconic, right? And so a lot of people didn't know that. And the main character, her name is Flor Silvestre. And then we also have Pedro Armendáriz, which again, iconic name in the Mexican industry.
Yes.
Alberto Galán. The main character who was there, she had actually started her career in the U.S. And again, it didn't hit, and she ended up going back to Mexico, and her career flourished there. So she's well known in Mexico. But when she tried out acting in the U.S., it wasn't, you know?
Also, her outfits in that film is just beautiful. And I think outfits, the makeup, like it is true Mexican, like, women clothing that they would wear during that time. Yeah. But
beautiful.
It was just done beautifully, and it's just appreciative to all the work that these people put into those like outfits, like even if it's specifically just for a movie or just the ones that
they're designers, like they're literally designers, because it's all very hand done. I mean, if you go back to what couture actually means, it's all, you know, done by hand, and it has certain techniques and everything. This is almost a work of art. This is like, it is a work of art, and it is all hand done, and it is very intricate pieces. And they're beautiful. And
like, my thing is like the tejido, like
it's so gorgeous.
Them doing it, it's like every single one has to look exactly the same. So my thing is, how many hours, how many like tries and like, you know, trial and errors they had to do to be able to make those beautiful clothing and stuff, like in the embroidery, everything. Like, that's just beautiful.
I'll low key watch the movies and just stare at the garments. Yes. Because they're so beautiful.
And how they project the women in them. Like, just so, like, posh. I'm so sorry. I don't know what that is.
I think it was a dog.
It's a dog. So, like, posh, modern, and, like, elegant.
Feminine, powerful. But also, I love that they were very well respected, too, in the films, because they were very much the main character, just like the men.
Like, it couldn't just been a men film. Where's the women, you know? They are the backbone. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So going back to Cantinflas, we have so many favorite movies because of my mom, but two of them were the obvious, the one that we all know, that I watched the Mickey Mouse version, and as a kid I loved it, but watching the Cantinflas version of Los Tres Mosqueteros, it is another version.
You know what I think of when he's trying to do the sword fighting thingy, like when that scene, it's so funny, so iconic.
It's just like, I think the way that it's like such a serious, action-packed like moment, and he's over here doing a joke, like he's cracking a joke, like it's like,
but he's very serious.
He's very serious about, like, he's like, no, like I'm acting, but like the way his body language is, you know. And then another one is El
Analfabeto. Yeah.
Okay.
Where he doesn't know how to read or write.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
It's such a good movie.
It's like a good like. it captures the humor in it and who he is as an actor and who we all know him as an actor.
And also, I feel like that storyline is so like beautiful because like he starts off one way and he ends up being like so much. Yeah,
and it goes back to how you said like his films were very much projected towards the middle class, lower class of Mexico, of people in Mexico, and in some way somehow he went up,
related to them.
He related to them, kept his true grounds and everything that he knew, but then somehow would be not in the higher up, but involved with the higher up. But he stood his ground, and I think
it was just like a thing where he made those people feel seen.
Yes.
And I think that's why it's so iconic, because it's a thing of like, you see yourself represented on screen and it's done correctly. You know for a fact that like it's almost like you trust them, you know, to capture who we are in a way.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
And if I could think of anything, because, you know, going back to the topic of fashion, de moda, I think the Cantinflas, like his films, the women and the men are always dressed so beautifully. Elegantly. Yep. Especially the suits that the guys wear at times. Yeah. Like the way that it's tailored to their body, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. Even, it's so funny because sometimes, you know, because he's in a lower, you know, part of the thing. And sometimes it's like ripped or it's long or whatever. But still you see the workmanship that went into making that.
To making it look like that.
Also, if you think of Cantinflas, you have an image of him with his hat.
Yes.
You know he has his hat. Yeah. And it's like that piece of clothing of iconic. Accessory is iconic to this person, this actor that opened and introduced this, you know, new way of doing films.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of them spearheaded a lot of talent now, and a lot of like they opened so many doors for creative people that wanted to be actors or production, you know, or designers, you know, and it's just like I go back and even, I mean, this movie was made 28 years ago, or it came out 28 years ago, but to me it's one of the movies that it's modern technically, right, because it's a recent one that we've had. A Walk in the Clouds, I think that was also very well done with Keanu Reeves. It was very well done. I
love that movie
because you see the Mexican heritage, but it's like it's a beautiful romantic film. Yeah. And you see, like, what I'm trying to say when I say, like, you see the beauty of the Mexican culture translated on screen. If you want to watch a modern adaptation, that movie is it.
Another one, because the actress, the main leading lady that comes out, she comes out also in a series. This is a Spanglish series of.
It's in Spain. It's a Spain.
It's a Spain. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Spanglish. A Spain series of Velvet collection. Yeah. It is beautiful. It is basically a fashion company, and you get basically you get the behind the scenes of the people in the workshop that are making the dresses, making the clothing, and it is just so beautiful seeing not only during that era, because it was like the 1950ish, 1970s-ish, like in between that era of clothing, but you get the drama, you get the angst of like.
But I feel like that's very much a Spain thing,
but I just want to relate to, because she
came out
in it, and that's like another fashion favorite, like
thing, that's a fashion show favorite.
Yes.
Another one too, which I feel like it's gotten a lot of mixed reviews, right? And this is the most recent one. Is Blue Beetle, right? Obviously, it's gotten a lot of mixed reviews because it is a first, you know, Mexican American superhero. But if, again, we go back to seeing it from the point of view that it was intended for and the point of view that it was created for, which it was created for people like us who are Mexican American, who grew up with our Mexican roots in a place that is not Mexico. And you kind of see that duality, and kind of like our history and where we come from and what it is that makes us who we are. That movie is so good. It's so good, and I literally cried. Like, there were points in that movie where I cried because you could see yourself again translated on the screen.
Yes.
Right? You see the hardships that they have to go through. You see that, like, the way that they are as a family, like, you know, the jokes, the songs, the things, you're just like, okay, like, this is how I grew up almost. So so that's also another
like a good adaptation of, you know, a Mexican family, of a Mexican heritage, and, you know, Mexican American, how you said. Another one, he is taking over both Mexico and United States.
Yes. You
via
know who
storm.
he is. You know who he is.
You can love him, you can hate him, but he is not only making sure you are laughing, but you are crying and getting deep into it.
And doing it before Harry did it in a fur coat.
Yes.
Who is it, Natalie?
Eugenio Derbez.
I just say Derbez
El
because I
Derbez.
can't say his first name.
Eugenio Derbez.
We all know.
The Familia Peluche.
Yes, iconic.
There was the other one where it was like the little shorts. It was like his Saturday Night Live where he played different
characters.
Yes.
Oh my God.
There was one I remember where he's like an old man, like an old, like, I don't know what it is. Y tiene un diente, no sé qué tanto. And like my dad would always be like, because how he laughs. Like, that's how my dad would scare us. And then he'd be like, I don't know what the phrase is, but that man is taking over the film industry in both areas. He's well known in Mexico, and he's well known in the United States. He has this movie coming out, and it came up. The credits are like the trailer. When we were watching Blue Beetle, of him being a teacher and going into this city, this pueblo, in, you know,
from the city
to the pueblo, where he is teaching kids to, you know, study, to go to school, to continue to go to school, because in this area,
even though they don't have the resources, they don't have the support, but he's like, if they're able to do it, like these people over here that have the computers, that have all this, why can't these students do it? And he teaches them from both a logical way to then slowly modernizing. And I think it's based off of a true story.
Yes, very much.
Like a real teacher did that. And so...
And you see in that way, it's funny, but you see in that way in Mexico how when you go to the school, you go to the prepa, you go to la secundaria, like you are much of a prep school. Like this goes back to college merch where you have like your uniform. And in that film, you see the students of them wearing it and all this stuff. And as well as like kind of your usual like cholos and type of, you know,
I mean,
outfits.
I feel like I haven't seen the movie yet because it still hasn't come out, but it's very promising. And it's another, how you said, iconic one.
Yeah. So now how we see kind of the Mexican, like during, you know, the time period that the golden age of Mexican cinema to now, you know, we see it a lot in the dresses, the form fitting of a dress, especially because for a lot of like events that happen during the Independence Week for Mexico, Dia de la Independencia, it's like you get a lot of like the big dresses, you get a lot of like the big sombreros and like all this stuff. And I think now we're seeing all those little things, but in the fashion world. And we saw it recently.
I was so excited. So Dior did their cruise collection, right? The designer was Maria Gracia Chiuri. I hope I'm saying that right. And she decided to do that collection in Mexico, which was iconic. I feel like the clothing, how you said, is very reminiscent of the clothing that obviously we know is part of our Mexican culture and we've seen in the movies. And it's just so beautiful. And she chose to do it in El Colegio de San Ildefonso. Again, I hope I'm saying it right. And if you go and watch that, I think it's like a 20-minute runway. It is so beautiful. It is so iconic. And it was all over Mexican Vogue, right?
Yeah.
And it was like it was like something huge to have a fashion, like especially a brand that big, represented or have a show in Mexico.
Yeah.
It was pretty iconic.
Especially because, you know, it's like, it's Dior. You know what Dior is. Like you look at a bag or something of Dior and you're like, yeah, it's Dior.
Dior.
So seeing it with incorporating the Mexican kind of like
Culture.
style, cultural, because like even necessarily like it's not everything is like that. Like it's like little details that you're just like, I remember because you could see this and this, you see this and
The
that type of thing,
yeah.
the embroidery and all that stuff. So I feel like that was such a huge impact because it was like people who don't know about those little things. For us, it hit home where it was like it ties into like our background and it ties
Perfectly.
into the golden age cinema, and those were the little things that you would see.
Yeah.
And those are little things that are slowly getting lost with it now being a lot modernized,
Fast fashion
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But this runway was a huge thing where it was like those things are still in us in a way.
And it put us back in the forefront of like fashion, which is great.
Couture.
And I feel like there's like this rise of showing the talent that's there,
Yes.
right? That doesn't matter again where you come from, but if you can give us a seat at the table, we will do great things.
Yes. Yes.
Again, you know something else that when I said seat at the table, I was thinking a show we're also watching. What is it, Natalie?
Ugly Betty.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
That's also another one that represents. And I think it was very iconic at that time. Too.
Yeah.
But also, so another thing too, which this was in an article, which was in an interview with the designer for Fear of God. They asked him, where would another potential store be, like a Fear of God store? And he said very proudly that he would love to have one in Mexico because he knows that the fashion and the culture there are very like, it's almost like saying that like it's starting where it's getting uplifted and it's getting to that range of you see like in LA or New York or Milan, you know? And so I think seeing brands, such big brands, talk about Mexico in that way and wanting to almost share the culture and everything there, I think that gets me very excited.
Because I think it ties back to because they know how much like Mexican heritage and culture is very much important to people who are Mexican.
Yeah.
And so in a way I feel like here in the United States, like you don't have a set like look. You don't have a set like culture type of thing. Like it's kind of a little bit dibble dabble of different things. And in Mexico it's like no, like that is like our tradition. Like that is our thing. Like these little things that other people are like, oh yeah, it's cool. It's like no, but you don't understand how important it is. So I feel like brands like this that are not only like opening their doors to Mexican, Latin designers, people who love fashion and love this, but also people who don't but have visited it and want to go to, you know, open stores to do this and get to know more of it. For us it's just like a pat in the back where it's like we're doing something good. And
I think it's just how you said, highlighting our culture.
Yes.
And the way it's actually meant to be seen, you know, and portrayed. I think that's huge.
And portrayed both in reality, but as well in movies and TV shows for both men and women and stuff, like how we portray ourselves and stuff. And I think how you said Ugly Betty is a good way because you get a little bit of a touch of a Mexican household, but you also get of someone who's the first gen trying to make it into this big industry of the fashion industry, and she does it so beautifully, being herself, knowing her roots and everything, her outfits, what she wears.
Which even, this is the thing, I will never get over the first episode where she's wearing
a poncho.
Yeah, and it's the Guadalajara poncho. I will never get over that. That to me is so iconic because if you come from a Mexican American household, that
you know that
when poncho. You go to you've worn it.
You've worn it. You've seen it. You know someone in your family who's worn it.
Who has it?
And I think like every time you go to Mexico, and I feel like only people who know what I'm talking about understands, but you always go to that puesto and you always get that hoodie that is tejido and they're colorful. You get different colors. Yes. You always get it. I know.
I feel like a lot of surfers wear it. And I'm like, that's a Mexican
type of thing. Yeah. And so I think like when her wearing that poncho, it was like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, ew, but we laugh because it's like, no, we have something like that in our house.
And not even that. I think it's just so funny because it's like she saw the girl wearing like this high-end couture
like
poncho, right? And it's like, okay, but where did the poncho originate?
Yeah.
Right? And
that's what she said.
Mexico.
She goes, I love your poncho. Where'd you get it? And she goes, Gucci or something like that. Yeah. And then she goes, my dad bought me one from Guadalajara. And then the next day she wears it.
From. And I think that's also another thing too, where it's like, before you would see Mexican culture and like it was almost like, I don't know if I mean robbed, I guess, you know, you'd see them take it, put their own spin on it, and it was like this amazing thing. And it's like, but then when you show the original, you're like, it's not that great, and you're like, it is great.
That's
like,
where you got your idea, bestie. Yeah. like please.
And so that scene to me is very like, it's so funny, but it's so real.
Yeah. And it's funny because, okay, in TikTok right now, what's trending is the Latina, I think it's like Latina girl vibe or something like that. And you would think it's like what people say, like cholas, like all this stuff. No.
Nope.
It is literally like shirts like this, flowy, embroidered. You've got like the big skirts.
Love it.
You got like the corsets or like the flowy dresses. Your hair has braids. Or it has like the beach waves of when you take out your braids.
Ribbon in it.
The ribbon.
Because
the makeup, the eyeliner, the red lipstick. The red lipstick is something very bold in Mexican heritage. Like that is something that a lot of women wear, and it's like a bold thing. The big hoops.
Yeah.
The like the little accessories, the rings, like that's just like a big thing.
And I feel like how you said, like if you want to be inspired by Mexican culture, right? You know, go ahead and, I mean, if you can't fly there, you can go ahead and watch the movies, especially during that golden age of Mexican cinema, and you will see traditional clothing. You will see the way that they lived. And I think more than anything, like how Natalie said, get subtitles and see us the way we actually are versus the way we've been portrayed.
Yes.
If that makes
sense.
sense.
And the way that I think just like the clothing like that, I think that's like the main thing that I love. Like if you need inspiration for your next trip to Mexico of what to wear, watch those movies. Like if you are going out to a date night and you're like, I don't know what type of dress to wear, watch those movies. Like if you are the type of person that loves like Audrey Hepburn's, Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, like type of films during that time, these are ours. Yeah. These are ours.
Try to. They're beautiful. As equally as beautiful.
Yes. The women are beautiful in their clothing. The men look very dashing and handsome and such a gentleman.
Yeah. Should I refresh it?
Mm-hmm.
We have 22. Reload.